calls on state parties to report on the steps taken or envisaged for the successful implementation of the convention. The national communications document will therefore outline the emissions of greenhouse gases from major economic sectors and activities of the country, while developing reasonable climate change in situations for assessment of potential impacts on key sectors of the economy.
The potential impact of climate change on crop production, forestry, fisheries, greenland, and livestock have been assessed in great details. Most of the impacts are negative, and the population are vulnerable. The national communication also contains measures and a strategy to mitigate the concentration of greenhouse gas based on NAMA document and adapt to the negative impacts of climate change.
Dr. Momodou Njai is the project consultant. He believes that the work they have tasked themselves is the result of the expertise and experiences of individuals and several institutions, which will be subjected to crucial tests for its acceptability.
We are looking at an information report, because the second national communication is nothing but an information report from the Gambia government to the community of governments who subscribe to UNFCCC. It's a peer review mechanism. So it's an information report that blends general information on implementation of the convention and technical assessments.
The Gambia is one country in the sub-region that is fully committed to the adaptation and mitigation effects of climate change as enshrined in the current national development strategies. The integration of the climate change strategies in the programs for accelerated growth and employment according to Permanent Secretary Sonko is one such strive by the government under the dynamic leadership of President Jammeh.
The preparation of the second national communication of the Gambia is based on the revised guidelines agreed by parties in New Delhi in COP8 in 2002. Mr. Chairman, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the government of the Gambia, under the visionary leadership of His Excellency, Sheikh Professor Alhaji Dr. Yaya AJJ Jammeh, has been very committed to tackling the effects of climate change. This was first manifested in the establishment of the National Climate Change Committee in 1992.
These participants are expected to critically look at the content of this report and highlight any inaccuracies that may crop up in the process, with a view to providing up-to-date information to the forthcoming UN meeting on climate change in Doha. Samuel Ba, GRTS.
You can follow that story and other GRTS programs live on our website at www.grts.gm. There you can also monitor GRTS Radio Live. We'll be back with more stories right after this break.
His Excellency Sheikh Professor Alhaji
Reverend Hannah Karen Falheim.
In the words of the Permanent Secretary,
there is direct relationship between the economic growth of a country.
This 5-hectare maize field that you are seeing here in Ilyasa village.
No matter how, where, when and who is involved, our corps of reporters will always be there to bring you the news as it happens.
Welcome back. Authorities have found the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder from last weekend's deadly plane crash in Nigeria. Investigators are going to use those recorders to try to piece together what caused the crash. But right now, recovery efforts are suspended because of heavy rains. And as we hear in this report, the death toll is expected to rise as authorities try to recover more bodies.
Carol Iwachuku was looking forward to a relaxing Sunday.
Then suddenly, we had a big bang. Initially, I said, oh my God, it's not Boko Haram again.
It wasn't an attack by the militant Nigerian Islamic fundamentalist group. It was a plane crash.
Suddenly, you will hear another bang, why? and the smoke and the fire would go right up in the air. I said all the prayers I know in my life, asking God to save us, and indeed, God saved us.
The passengers on Dana Air Flight 9J992 from Nigeria's capital, Abuja, to Lagos were not so lucky. All 153 were killed when the MD-83 jet slammed into a densely populated residential neighborhood just 11 miles from the runway. Others died on the ground. Kingsley Okeke was settling in to watch a soccer match when the plane suddenly slammed into his apartment. Suddenly,
there was fire everywhere.
So you were right down here on this ground floor.
I see,
and the wall?
Yeah, the wall in the building. The plane pushed the wall in our building. It pushed it in, so the thing hit everything.
By late Sunday evening, thousands of people had swarmed the crash site. The narrow streets, lack of electricity and water made for a chaotic scene as rescue workers struggled to find survivors in the darkness.
We had the problem of crowd control, like I told you, because it's essentially in an urban area, highly populated, and you don't expect this kind of thing to happen without people coming to the aid of those that are affected.
Monday morning, with the crash scene finally secure, the devastation and death could be measured in the light of day.
The engines are right there in the rubble. We've gotten the engineering company to move them so that we can go under them and see if we can remove more bodies. The tail part is right there. As you can see right there, still very prominent.
Yeah.
And majority, I think the front part of the fuselage is what rested here, and that is why we have a large chunk of the bodies here.
Beyond the twisted metal, reminders of the lives lost could be seen anywhere you looked. This is the remains of a factory, a printing press that was also demolished. But what is remarkable here is there are actually people that survived in this building. You could see the front half of the building is completely and utterly destroyed, and the back half of the building is still standing.
Because we are humans, you know, you have a lot of drawback, resentments, and maybe I think the human thing in us. But as the work progressed, and as we saw that we needed to, you know, not save lives in this case, but retrieve bodies.
Late Monday afternoon, President Goodluck Jonathan toured the crash site and expressed his dismay.
So the government is totally committed to improving the quality of the aviation in the country. So this particular incident is a major setback to us as a people.
Just a day earlier, a Nigerian cargo plane crash-landed in Ghana, and many are skeptical about the future.
Let them come and see the state of affairs. Look at the road. And the fire service, they ran out of water before they were able to put off the light.
While the cause of the crash remains a mystery, the American pilot declared an emergency just before the plane went down. Vladimir Dutier, CNN, Lagos, Nigeria.
As serious conflict spirals, so too does the diplomatic tit-for-tat, as Damascus declares 11 foreign diplomats persona non grata. The diplomats are from the same countries that expelled Syrian officials in response to the massacre in Hula. Despite international efforts to stem the ongoing violence in Syria, many fear that the country is getting dangerously close to a civil war. CNN's Jim Clancy has more on the situation.
The continued carnage in Syria elicits repeated warnings the country is surging headlong into civil war.
I'm sure I'm not telling you any secret when I tell you that there is a profound concern that the country could otherwise descend into full civil war.
The warnings are certainly clear on the ground. The massacre of men, women, and children in Hulu was a frightening reminder of just what a sectarian civil war would look like. President Bashar al-Assad says an Arab and world conspiracy is forcing war on Syria.
We are now a target of a conspiracy, a worldwide conspiracy, and this depends on what is happening in the Arab world.
Gulf states are allegedly furnishing arms to Assad's opponents, while Russia and Iran funnel weapons and advisors to prop up the regime. But there are compelling reasons why civil war may not be in Syria's future. First and foremost, the opposition doesn't want it.
We want a better future for Syria. We want to build an advanced, modern state. this cannot be done after a civil war.
The opposition contends civil war would invite terror groups into the conflict and make building any new state more difficult. That, they argue, is what President Assad is trying to do. Another compelling reason